Hello, it is Tara Boothby, and I'm really excited to do a small series on love. Actually, my book is just coming out and it is on pre-order. You can find it on Amazon for sure, and it should be on Indigo within the next couple weeks. I'm not exactly sure when it'll be up there, but Amazon for sure, Amazon.ca. My book is called Love and Love's Energy, and it's really exploring attachment. I'm going to do some sort of series, at least 3 parts here. And the first piece I want to talk about is self-love. And self-love is just a really important part of our love discovery. It's something that can be minimized and discredited, and sometimes we do it wrong, or we think loving ourselves means we spoil ourselves, or we put ourselves before everybody else. We say some things that just aren't quite 100% true. So let's talk a little bit about self-love. Self-love is really rooted in practice of self-compassion. And self-love is really about knowing who we are. So inside of ourselves, there's the good and the bad, and there's different ways that we view this. And what we really can worry about is the flawed parts of who we are. What's really normal is we oftentimes will try to cover up the flawed parts of who we are, minimize them to ourselves, minimize them to others. We think that we won't be accepted. We can't accept that about ourselves. We have to move on. We have to deny or heal or change somehow because of these flaws. Self-love is about loving ourselves as whole people. And in our whole self, we are both flawed and fabulous. And our flaws are just as much part of us, and they're just as much along for the ride as everything else. It doesn't mean we give ourselves free license to do whatever we want and people should just accept me the way I am, and we get, angry or aggressive. That's a whole other problem. It's that I love me and I know me, and I see those parts that are hard for me to see, and I make peace and I love on them, and I care about them in an emotionally safe way so that I can learn how to trust the right people, my emotionally safe people, to know and love and care about those parts about who I have. I've used this analogy previously on the vlog, and I think it really drives home self-love as well, is the idea of if you're on an airplane and you put the oxygen mask on yourself first before the other person. And what I was really pondering as I'm thinking about self-love, and I'm going to be on CTV News talking about it with this analogy of the oxygen mask, is we have to remember that that analogy is talking about in a time of real deep crisis. So I need to learn how to believe in putting the oxygen mask on myself first as a human. If I can practice that, if I can understand, I take care of me, I know how to breathe into me as a person and take care and love and nourish my body, that in times of crisis, when the airplane is going down, I can help myself so that I can then help others. And the analogy of, or the true to life sort of scenario of putting the oxygen mask on yourself, it's really good to remember that one of the fruits of self-love is that in hard times, when it's distressing, emotionally distressing out there in the world around us, the better we are at loving ourselves as whole people, the more self-actualized we are, the more integrated we are as people, the better able we're going to be able to offer love. We're flawed and fabulous. So that's something that's kind of nice to remember, is like, I'm both. I'm just both. I have my own record of wrong. I know it well. It doesn't drive the bus. When I allow my flaws to take over, I'm afraid of them. I try to hide them away. Then I get hooked into behaviors that are not really true to my identity. So with with this idea of self-love, there also is this moving into self-knowledge. If we're trying to practice self-love when we can, as we can, we're trying to formulate what authentic self-love and self-compassion is, it really will challenge us to contemplate self-knowledge. I have to start wondering about how I love those unlovable bits about who I am. I have to be challenged. I get to challenge myself on loving those things that I'm really afraid people won't find lovable. And in my book, I'm actually really authentic, and I talk about parts of me who I am afraid of, and deep down inside what might truly be unlovable, and how I've worked through that. I share these stories because I think I found some ways to help myself heal with my own self-love. And so learning the practical application and some tools in the book and the theory, but also it's like we're people. I have people stories inside of me that are just about me or about friends, and I share some of that in the book. So as we do all of these things, it's also just really relevant to notice that self-love is a struggle. It's a struggle. I make mistakes. I get afraid when people see the worst in me, and it happens. I'm a person. I've made mistakes. I've hurt people. At times people see those wrongs. People are angry with us. People are angry with me. All of these things. It doesn't feel good. Self-love allows us more space to be honest with ourselves about those things, the flaws, the mistakes I've made, the mistakes you've made, the things that we can't really hold ourselves accountable for, but they're mistakes. Maybe we were young, maybe we were in a bad habit, we didn't know what we didn't know. All of those things contribute to flaws. And yet, in self-love and self-compassion, we can hear ourselves talk about our own stories so that we can better hear ourselves. And then hopefully we can find emotionally safe people that can hear those parts of who we are as well. Or hopefully we can better able hear those people as they uncover their flaws and they're afraid, but we've been there with our own flawed self. We understand we are lovable just the way we are. And so then we can come alongside as somebody who vulnerably might share something that they see as flawed. And we can love them because we've started to love ourselves. So I think one of the battles with self-love too is, and it goes back to our behavior. I talk a lot about this in the book, that we protect, when we're not loving all the parts of who we are, those flawed parts, those difficult parts, then we're going to protect ourselves. We strategize and we come up with behaviors or positions in the world around us. We figure out what we think looks attractive or appealing to the audience that we want or the people we want to draw. If we want to keep people at distance, we're going to behave one way. And if we want people really, really close, we're going to behave a different way. And I notice this as defaults. So these default behaviors are ways that we present ourselves in the world around us to get our own desired effect. And if I want to be tough, I'm going to put on this tough image. And if I want to be cared for, I'm going to put on this image where people care for me, all these different ways, which when it becomes automatic, really, really limits our ability to do self-love, because without being in our authentic whole self, without knowledge of our flaws, without loving our flaws as much as we love our fabulous, it's hard. And how are we going to really know how lovable we are if we don't start loving ourselves? Another thing that really gets in the way, and I talk a lot about this in the book, is we don't really believe in our pure of heartness. I think that because we all are so acutely aware of what's wrong about us, we've strategized so hard that we're really disconnected with our flaws, because some people really don't want to admit any error inside of themselves. For sure not publicly, but some people really don't know how to admit their own flaws to themselves. They're so protected. They're so automatic in their defaults. But we have a hard time believing that at our core, we're pure of heart. That's a huge wrestle, and that's an important wrestle, and that's a beautiful part of my book that one of my dearly beloved mentors, William Paul Young, spoke about with me. And I share the story of how he taught me on pure of heartness, and he actually writes a letter to the readers in the book. So that's a shameless plug, because I love this book. I think it's going to help you, and I can't put it all in a vlog because there's just so much goodness and self-reflection and all these beautiful pieces. But what I will say is that within our whole self, we can practice whole love. Self-love is loving ourselves wholly, not as a holy object, but as a whole. I am a whole person, and I am wholly loved. WHOLUI. I don't have my spell check handy. Something like that. But as a whole person, I'm loved. I love myself when I can, as I can. Now, simple tip trick tool when you're practicing self-love is to just audit situations. So when you're going through your day, what can I do to see about self-love, having some self-compassion? And something about it is there's a siren going off. We're almost done here anyhow. Something about our self-love practice is being acutely aware to how am I doing in my present circumstances. So I will say, you know, I've said this in other vlogs, play the tape of the day and evaluate where was the point that caused me distress, that got my negative views of myself going. What did I see happen? What did I hear? What was going on around me? What did I feel emotionally? What did I say? What did I do? What did I actually want to need? So I'm going to look through these stories in my life. What happened today? What happened a week ago? What happened 5 years ago or 10 years ago or 20 years ago? Just looking at the situations and really trying to make it come alive colorfully so that I can see me in those stories. There's all sorts of these little activities, self-love activities, inner child, your side of the street, all sorts of really cool things. My magic magnet, that's a fabulous one to discover. These things are in this book, and I love self-love. I love love's energy, and I love love energy. And these are concepts in this book, love and love's energy. So I'll have the link down below. You can pre-order on Amazon if it's before March 29th. 2024. After that, you know, it's going to be on Kindle and it's also on Amazon, and there'll be other platforms where you can order this book. I love this book. I think it's good for people. If you pick up the book, if you read the book, I think it's going to help you. And it's exciting to think about this grand mass of love that we're all included in. Within that is self-love and the energy between people, this love energy. And then what does that mean about supernatural love? The more we get into the love conversation, the more we can get curious about just how vast this beautiful energy of love is. Okay, guys, I'm excited. And I've been working on this project for a long time. So I'm really, really passionate about these next few vlogs I get to do with you. Peace and love. And thank you for being here. And thank you for listening to this vlog and considering buying the book. I love it. And I hope you will too.